Now that we know a little bit more about UVs, let's take a look at some of the simplest ways to get some UVs on our objects. So let's jump into Blender. We've got just a simple cube here. Let's also create maybe a couple of other objects. Maybe we'll create a sphere. I'm going to pull it off to the side there. And let's go ahead and get our monkey out there. So we've got a few different objects. So now let's say that we want to start to add some textures to these. So we will need to add a UV layout. Now the kind of quickest way to do that is to do a simple projection. And so let's come over to our UV editing layout. You can see here's our 3D view, and then off to the left here is our UV image view. So think of this as where the UVs are going to go and where our image is going to go. So you can see what parts of the image are applied to what faces. So with simple objects that have primitive kind of shapes, simple UV projections can be good to just get either a full UV layout can be done if it's a very simple object, or at least get to a sort of a starting point. So for instance, if I select the cube, we want to go into edit mode to be able to edit our UVs. Go to shading UVs, and then down under UVs there is this unwrap. So if we open this up, you can see there's a few different options here at the top, and then down here in the middle it says cube projection, cylinder projection, sphere projection. So these are going to be your most basic projections that you can do, and it's pretty straightforward. You're going to project based on a cube shape, a cylinder shape, or a sphere. So if your object is more cube shaped, cylinder shaped, or sphere shaped, you can use one of these options. So here, if we were to project this using a spherical projection, you can see that the faces are kind of distorted, and we're not getting all of the faces there. You can change the direction here. So view on poles, view on equator, okay, based on how it's actually looking, based on the sphere shape that you're using. You can also align the poles in different directions as well. And you can see that the points now are extending past the bounds. So if you want to clip those into the bounds, you can turn on that option. Or if you want to scale the whole thing so that it fits inside there, you can do that. Okay. So that's spherical projection. Now we don't really want to use spherical projection on this because it's a cube. So let's actually use a cube projection. And again, we want to scale it into the bounds there. And that just kind of lays that out. You can see we're still missing a couple of faces there, but we can go in and edit those and move those around. In order to do that, we can start to come over here and UV selection, go to island, and we can select and move our different faces around. So you can see that the projection in this case has given us just a kind of a good starting point, and then we can go back in and edit our UVs. Now on the sphere, go ahead and select our sphere, go to edit mode. We can do, let's say, a cylindrical projection. So you can see here, it gives you a little bit more of a visualization of what's happening. You can see one of the poles here, and then another one of the poles all the way down here. Now we can clip it or scale it so that it fits inside of the boundary. We can also change how it's being viewed. So here's the one pole of the sphere, and here's another pole. So there's different ways of doing those projections. Now you can see as we go through this that no matter what we do, these projections aren't really giving us exactly what we want. And a lot of times you'll find that if you do these simple projections, it might be better to do them in sections. Instead of trying to go in and do the whole thing with one projection, it might be better to actually do them in pieces. So having seams is okay, and we'll talk about this as we go through the process. Having seams is okay. You just want to hide them and you want to minimize the number of seams, but in order to get an undistorted map, you're going to have some kind of seam. Okay, and you can select her, go back to edit mode, and then you can experiment with some of the projections here. There's a cubic, cylindrical projection, spherical projection. You can kind of see the face there. So as your models start to get a little bit more complex like this, they're going to require a little bit more complexity in the UV mapping as well. and we'll talk about that next. One thing that I did want to show you was also project from view, and that is you can actually project from your angle. So you're projecting your camera or your UVs from a particular angle. And again, you could do this with just a section of these, so you don't have to just do it with, you know, your whole object here. So let's go, and I'll just maybe real quickly select some faces here. Go to the front view, and let's do a project from view. And then let's go ahead and move that off. So you can see I could just do like the face and project it from the view. Then I could do the top of the head and project it from this angle, and the back of the head and project it from this angle. So you can really customize the way that your projections happen, so you don't have to project them across the entire surface all at once. Okay, and it stays live so that you can go in, and if you wanted to change this up and do a different type of projection, you can always go back and do that. Okay, so that's some simple basic UV projection. Next, let's talk about using some of these unwrap options here to do something a little bit more complicated. So go ahead and do that next.